One of the most important things for us to be able to do in our career is to influence others. Now, regardless of whether your career is oriented to management and leadership or being a standout individual contributor, being an expert in a certain skill or field, it doesn't matter. We all, in order to progress, will have to influence other people in some way. If you're in sales, you're going to convince people to purchase your product or service. If you're marketing, you're going to reach an audience and connect them to a need and, grow your market share. If you're a tech professional, you are solving some incredibly complex and difficult problems or inventing new ways to make technology work for people. So no matter what we do, it's going to involve a coalition of the willing. And we have to influence people either directly if we are a leader of an organization or a team, or we have to influence people to cooperate and to lend their intelligence and their expertise to us. So, in this episode of Rob's Career Gems, I want to pay tribute to one of my career mentors, Liz Wiseman, who wrote this book, Multipliers. And indeed, it has now crossed a major threshold that only a handful of books ever cross, and that is over 1 million copies have been sold. Now, why Multipliers has been so successful is because it's not only a book for leaders. Many people consider Multipliers, well, that's just for people managers and leaders. I actually think it transcends that. It is a book that will allow you to garner and to access the intelligence of others more freely if you embrace the mindset and the practices. And so Multipliers became a part of my life when I was introduced to that book by a friend of Larry, who's Liz's husband. In college, they were buddies, they were roommates, and his name was Michael. And Michael introduced me to the book a year after it was published. I did not know Liz Wiseman or the Wiseman Group, the company she founded, but I read the book and it instantly took me back to earlier phases of my career when I had standout leaders. One leader in particular I can remember very early on. I had made a pretty big mistake, had been a bad example in front of my team in a very public situation. And he said, Rob, I want you to know that I still have confidence in your ability to turn this around and to get out of the penalty box. But I need you to know that I'm the leader that will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And I respected him for that, greatly respected him, because I had some hard coaching sessions and I had some very soothing and celebratory coaching sessions with that leader. But he was a multiplier to me because I always felt like I could give a little more, I could learn a little more, I could push my limits a little bit more because he invited it. But he was also very direct and very good at giving honest feedback. And comparatively few leaders in my career have that kind of honesty and directness and still have a way of motivating and inspiring you to do your best. So this book, Multipliers, taught me a couple of things. Number one, it taught me that the best influencers are people who believe that other people, other individuals are smart and will figure things out. Now, we're not all created with the same type of smarts. Some of us are street smart and we know, how to navigate the system and how to, work things from an expediency standpoint. We might not be academically smart, but we're street smart. Other people are very intelligent at the big picture and connecting the dots, casting a vision. Some people are really good at forensics and solving problems. So we're all gifted in some way with human intelligence that can add value to organizations and to people. And if we believe that others have the ability to contribute in extraordinary ways, and if we seek to influence and to motivate them so that they can, we'll be far more successful in our career because we do need a coalition of the willing. We're not going to be able to solve all the problems with the knowledge that's in our own head. So the belief system that Liz found from the world's best leaders is, in fact, that this belief that people are smart and will figure it out. The opposite kind of leader, a diminisher, will always consider that they think they're the smartest person in the room or they have it all figured out. They have a plan. Maybe they have a vision and they dogmatically cling to that without allowing the intelligence of others to influence and to shape it. You're going to be far more successful with multiple brains, coalescing together, the net of the combined intelligence than you ever will with the smarts that you happen to have personally. And so I've come to believe that and know that it serves, the achievement of extraordinary goals much better than the diminisher's way, which is, I know best, or I'm the smartest person, or I've got this figured out. We might have a pretty strong plan and a pretty compelling vision, and that's okay. And I don't think we have to abandon that. But I do think we have to allow others to weigh in honestly and transparently. And in some cases, debate trade-offs or find a third alternative, maybe even something better than we had initially envisioned. So that's one of the biggest changes that I think crept into my life with multipliers is I realized my best leaders, the best influencers and mentors in my own career did that for me. And then there are several disciplines or practices that are outlined in that book that you can read about, but the one that stands out to me is being intellectually curious. The Wiseman Group has done a lot of research on the best leaders all over the world in every culture. And the one thing that they all seem to have in common is they exercise their intellectual curiosity to an extraordinary degree. And as a practitioner of multipliers, I did work for Liz for 3 years. She influenced my thinking and my way of leading profoundly, including the way I lead in my home with my children. I will say that intellectual curiosity is something that sometimes goes dormant or we don't leverage it as much as we should because we're on a success path. We've arrived at a certain title or position, or we've, done some extraordinary things, and maybe we kind of get lazy and stop using our intellectual curiosity. So the one thing that I would say today to make sure that you never let this flame get extinguished in your career is to be insatiably curious. There is an experiment that the Wiseman Group advocates, and I've used it with many organizations, teams large and small, and with individuals that I coach, and that is the extreme question challenge. And the extreme question challenge is you deciding you're going to enter into a conversation or maybe a portion of a conversation. Maybe it's in a group meeting, maybe it's a one-on-one, but where you choose to go into inquiry mode and you park your opinions and your judgments and what you think you know, and you really dig into the assumptions and maybe what you're not seeing. And the only way you're going to be able to get access to the full perspectives of the other person or the people around you will be to ask some thought-provoking and searching questions. So I'd say if you haven't done that in a while, you can maybe pick a spot and, stealth it into a conversation at home or at work where you can just simply ask questions for as long as you can. I found that that intellectual curiosity piece allows you to garner so much more wisdom and intelligence that will serve you well, whatever your career path is. Whether that is, again, becoming an expert, maybe being a solopreneur, it doesn't matter. You still have to have customers and you still have to influence people's thinking. By garnering their intelligence, you're likely to land closer to the mark of whatever you're striving to achieve. And it's worthwhile for all of us to remember that. So, first, the belief system. People are smart and will figure it out. And secondly, the practice of daily intellectual curiosity. I know some companies that actually have that as enshrined as one of their core values. And the workforce in those organizations is vibrant and alive. And people feel safe enough to ask about the elephants in the room or to question some of the assumptions and re-examine the way they work. And this is not an indictment or, a threat against any process or the way people do things. It's striving to accomplish more together in a more aligned fashion. I'll end with this thought from John Cotter, which I think typifies the challenges that we all have to navigate every day in this VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. He said, a lot of people will try to manage their way out of things to solve the problem, but they over-engineer it or they over-manage it. Says we don't need more management. We need greater alignment. And I've never forgotten that because I think that is a really difficult thing when people have different viewpoints, different backgrounds, different life experiences. But we all have some common aspirations. We all have some desires to make a difference individually and collectively. And so that principle of alignment can only be attained with the regular exercise of intellectual curiosity and the belief system that we are all smart and capable in very different individual ways, very uniquely. But if we can combine those synergies, there's nothing that we can't solve or do. So I leave you with that thought, and I'm grateful that we have a chance to journey together and to achieve more and to do more in our careers because that's what keeps me motivated and excited every day as there's a different problem to solve or there's some unique situations that we can learn from. And I hope that you are doing that regularly in your career. Until next time, so long.